Ever feel like you're getting whiplash from the news? One minute it's all about a war in the Middle East, the next it's a full-blown AI gold rush making new billionaires overnight, and then you've got headlines saying big tech is facing this historic reckoning. It's a lot, right? But these stories, they're actually way more connected than you think. So today, we're going to connect those dots and really break down how these massive shifts are hitting your wallet. Let's dive in. This quote from our source material just absolutely nails the feeling of being an investor right now. It is like being on a roller coaster in the dark. One day, the market is flying high, and the very next, it feels like the bottom is about to fall out. We're in this market of extreme contradictions. And yeah, it's leaving a lot of us feeling pretty dizzy. And here's what that looks like in real time. After just one day of feeling pretty good, the futures are flashing red across the board, completely wiping out all of the previous day's gains. And look, this isn't a fluke. This is the new normal. This kind of volatility is here to stay, and it's being driven by some really powerful forces. So what's causing all this market madness? Well, the biggest driver right now is the conflict with Iran. One day you hear whispers of a peace deal and the market kind of breathes a sigh of relief. The next day, a hawkish statement comes out of Washington and just sends shivers down its spine. This geopolitical tug of war is keeping everyone on edge. And this isn't just about stock prices. This conflict has a very, very real impact on your daily life. A staggering 20% of the world's entire oil supply is currently offline because of this. I mean, think about that. That means higher prices at the pump. It means more expensive groceries. It's a real squeeze on your budget. This is geopolitics hitting you right at home. And the ripples from this thing are spreading everywhere. The US is stretched pretty thin, right? They're thinking about military action to reopen a critical shipping lane while also trying to keep an eye on all these other global hotspots. And you can bet that other world powers are watching this very closely. For a country like China, this American distraction could look like the perfect opportunity to make a move on Taiwan. But here's where things get really, really interesting. While the world is distracted by these, old-school conflicts over oil and territory, a completely new kind of gold rush is quietly reshaping the entire global economy. I'm talking about the AI revolution. And folks, it is a tectonic shift that's creating a whole new class of winners and losers. I mean, just look at this chart. It pretty much says it all. Just a few years ago, semiconductor companies were kind of a niche part of the market. Now, they are taking over. The number of chip makers in the top 25 most valuable companies in the world has more than doubled. This is a fundamental reordering of the global economy, and it's happening at lightning speed. And at the dead center of this storm is NVIDIA. The numbers here are they're absolutely insane. We're talking about a company that went from being worth a respectable $661 billion to a world-dominating $4.3 trillion in just 3 years. That's not just growth, that's a supernova. And it's all thanks to this insatiable demand for the chips that power the AI revolution. And hey, don't think this is just the NVIDIA show. The entire semiconductor industry is getting supercharged. Take ARM, for example. This British company used to just license its designs out to other people. Now they're jumping into the action, building their own AI chips, and investors are absolutely loving it. The ground is literally shifting under the entire tech industry. But here's the twist in the story. As the new kings of tech are getting crowned, the old guard, they're in some serious hot water. The very companies that defined the last decade of innovation are now facing a day of reckoning for the dark side of their own creations. It's a real paradox of creation and consequence. Remember the Magnificent Seven? These were the tech titans that seemed absolutely unstoppable, pretty much carrying the whole market on their shoulders. Well, this year, they've been rebranded as the Miserable Seven. What a fall from grace, right? And it's a huge sign that the tide is turning for big tech. And look at the damage here. We're not just talking about a little dip. Microsoft is down nearly a quarter of its value. Meta and Google are in full-blown correction mode. These aren't just numbers on a screen. This represents a massive crisis of confidence from investors in the companies that used to be the darlings of Wall Street. So what's spooking investors so badly? A big part of it is this legal tsunami that's heading straight for big tech. For the very first time, juries are holding companies like Meta and YouTube financially responsible for the harm their products cause to young people. We're talking about addiction, mental health issues, the whole shebang.
And this has Wall Street asking a really terrifying question. Is this big tech's big tobacco moment? We all know what happened to the tobacco industry when the lawsuits started piling up. Billions and billions of dollars in damages, a fundamental change in how they do business. If this is the start of a similar wave of litigation, the social media world as we know it could be over. But it's not just lawsuits that are making people nervous about AI. There's another, more personal fear that's been bubbling up. That deep down fear of being replaced by a bot. I mean, every week it seems like another company announces layoffs and blames it on AI. It's a narrative that's starting to take hold. But is it the whole truth? Well, according to this expert from Forrester Research, we should be really skeptical of that narrative. He's a great term for it, AI washing. The idea is that companies are using AI as a smokescreen to cover up the real reasons for layoffs, which are the same old boring reasons. They hire too many people and now they're not selling enough stuff. AI is just a new, shiny excuse. So let's just take a step back. We've got a world on fire, a technological revolution that's completely rewriting the rules, and the old guard of the market getting knocked off their pedestals. It's chaotic, it's confusing, and honestly, it's a scary time to be an investor. So what's the average person supposed to do with all this information?
Okay, before we get into strategy, let's make sure we're all on the same page with the lingo. You've probably been hearing this term market correction thrown around a lot lately. All it means is a significant dip, a drop of at least 10% from a recent high. And right now, the index that tracks smaller companies, the Russell 2000, is officially in one.
Now, here's where things get really interesting for the savvy investor. Yes, small-cap stocks get hit harder in a downturn, but man, do they bounce back with a vengeance. We're talking about an average gain of 85% in the year after a bear market bottom. That is a massive outperformance compared to their bigger, more famous cousins in the S&P 500. This is where the real opportunity might be hiding.
So how do you actually put this all into practice? Well, our source material boils it down to a simple 4-step playbook. The big idea here is simple. Don't panic. Don't try to be a hero and time the market perfectly. Instead, have a plan, stick to it, and see these downturns for what they really are, a sale on the stock market. It's a chance to buy great companies at a discount.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground, from war to AI to market turmoil. So where do we go from here? What are the key things you should be watching for in the coming weeks and months?
Keep your eyes on 3 key areas. First, listen very closely to what the Federal Reserve is saying. Any hints about interest rates could send shockwaves through the market. Second, any news, good or bad, from the Iran peace talks will be a huge deal. And finally, in an election year, you can't ignore politics. What President Trump says and does could have a massive impact on everything we've talked about today. And so that leaves us with a final big question. We are smack in the middle of a perfect storm of disruption. The old world is clashing with the new, and the future is being written in real time. It's messy and it's scary, but it's also a once-in-a-generation moment of change. So I'll leave you with this thought. In a world that's moving this fast, maybe the biggest risk of all is just doing nothing.